They called it a family intervention, said I was ruining my life. I sat there in my thrift store blazer, listening to them mock my startup, my apartment, my car. What they didn't know. In 18 minutes, I'd be on Forbes 30 under 30. That rejected startup Lucas pitched? My firm turned him down. And when I said, 2 billion, though that number's already outdated, the room went silent. This wasn't revenge. This was the empire I built while they weren't looking. Through our family group chat, my mother sent out the invitation. Her letter was well written and brimming with worried disappointment. A family emergency meeting. Thursday at 7 p.m. With her, Alexander needs our assistance. Circumstance. My circumstances. They had been referring to my choice to leave my esteemed consulting position and launch my own business as that. 2 years of veiled insults, anxious phone conversations, and overt references to real jobs with real benefits. I was sitting in my car outside my parents' colonial-style home, where I had grown up and where corporate titles and Ivy League degrees were the benchmarks of success. Next to Mom's BMW and Dad's Mercedes on the circular driveway was my sister Claire's Range Rover. My Toyota Corolla had a really strange appearance. That's exactly how people now perceive me. My CFO, Daniel, sent me another message on my buzzing phone. At 8 p.m. the Forbes piece goes live. Esty, are you prepared for this? I responded to the text. The time was ideal. At 7 o'clock, family intervention begins. He answered right away. Barbaric. Do you want me to come to your aid in a car? Not necessary. Waiting for certain things is worthwhile. I looked in the rearview mirror at myself. Tonight, wear a basic black blazer over a white shirt. No expensive items. Very little makeup. Hair was carefully pulled back. Give them the impression that I couldn't afford better. It added sweetness to the impending revelation. I was about to knock when the door opened. Mom's flawless makeup did not completely cover the lines of her frown as she stood there in her Chanel outfit. Alexander, you're late, sweetheart. Mom, by 2 minutes. She ushered me inside and said, details matter in business, dear. Things you might want to think about. The arrangement of the living area resembled a corporate intrusion. Dad near the fireside in his position of authority. Claire sits on the leather sofa with her husband, Lucas. Aunt Patricia, Mom's sister, is seated in the wingback chair. They even summon more help. Ally. Claire gave me a cheek kiss. I adore the blazer. H&M. Actually a thrift store, I remarked. I saw her attempt to conceal her shock. Fashion that is sustainable. Very fashionable. Dad cleared his throat. Let's begin. Vivian, we're here because we're concerned about you. I sat down in the least comfortable chair and turned to face each of them, saying, about my situation. Mom corrected. About your choices. You had it all 2 years ago. Mackenzie Jr. partner track. That penthouse residence is very beautiful. Ethan. Yes, exactly. Ethan. They had essentially planned my wedding to the investment banker before I put it off to launch my business. And now? Dad made a hazy gesture. Driving that old car, living in that small apartment and working on some. Lucas generously added, tech startup. Grinning with all of his teeth and MBA assurance. Even so, the term startup suggests room for expansion. I suppressed a smile. Before relying on his trust fund, Lucas had made 3 unsuccessful attempts to raise money for his own startup. Lucas, who was unaware that only a month prior, he had been making a proposal to one of my subsidiary investment firms. Lucas, who had been turned down. Once more. We're merely attempting to assist, Claire said softly. Admitting that something isn't functioning is not a sign of weakness. Without a doubt, Mackenzie would bring you back. Aunt Patricia said. Actually. There. Barbara's daughter recently received a promotion to partner. She paused thoughtfully. Youngest female partner in their history. You might have been that person. I looked at my watch. 7:43 p.m. In 17 minutes, the Forbes story would be published. Mom grumbled. You haven't even explained to us what your company does in reality. What have you got to show for all this secrecy and these long hours? In his CEO position, which he had adopted for innumerable boardroom presentations, Dad stood up. We're here to talk about your failing business and make plans for the future. No more running from the truth. Claire's cell rang. She gave it a quick glance before doing a quick double take. Her poise, which she had kept so well, broke. "Oh God," she muttered. "Why is your face on Forbes 30 under 30 list?" was then said loudly. The room went cold. Mom's wine glass paused just short of her mouth. Claire's phone was seized by Lucas. "That's not possible." He feverishly scrolled. "This isn't possible." Neurox Solutions founder and CEO is 28-year-old Alexander Bennett. Valued at, this must be an error. $2 billion, I quietly said. Although that figure is a little out of date now. That is the current valuation following our most recent funding round. Dad slumped back in his seat. $2 billion. Are you curious about the current activities of my company? I took out my tablet and launched our presentation for investors. Neurox Solutions creates adaptive learning solutions powered by AI. We're transforming the way that machines interpret and react to complicated data. That small apartment where I reside? I added. In fact, it's the tiniest apartment I own in a complex. The old Toyota? Like any wise investments, it's dependable and useful, which is why I got it. Mom's hand shook as she held the wine glass. But you didn't say anything. I said. You never asked. You didn't notice my success because you were too busy complaining about my failure. I straightened my blazer from the thrift store and got up. Big tech companies around the world are implementing our technologies. I've been working so many hours because of this. I have been discreet because of this. Because of this, Forbes will be publishing a feature article in 2 minutes about a 28-year-old woman who, despite her family's belief that she was failing, built a multi-billion-dollar software company. Claire's phone continued to ring. As soon as the piece went up, notifications began to flood in. Lucas appeared to have ingested an unpleasant substance. Aunt Patricia was already on the phone, most likely to speak with Barbara on her daughter's recent decline in stature. Dad said, shell-shocked, $2 billion. As Daniel's message arrived, I looked at my phone and said, actually, add $3 billion to that. We recently completed another acquisition. I'd tell you more, I said. But in an hour I have a video interview with CNBC. A special on disruptive tech leaders is being produced. The quiet was overwhelming. Then Mom said in a low voice, why didn't you tell us, though? I glanced around the room at their astonished expressions, their broken preconceptions, their eroding faith in my identity and my potential. Because sometimes letting people underestimate you is the best way to succeed, I replied as I gathered my belongings. When no one is looking, you can do incredible things. Once more my phone buzzed. That is my vehicle. In contrast to my Toyota, this one is quite pricey and includes the Forbes picture session. I turned back as I made my way to the door. Oh, and Claire? Bennett Ventures turned down that startup Lucas presented last month? My investment firm is the one. Have a better time the next time. There, surrounded by their high-end labels and traditional success, I abandoned them. A gorgeous black sedan waited outside to transport me to my upcoming interview. Sometimes proving someone incorrect isn't the greatest form of retaliation. It's allowing them to acknowledge that they never truly knew you. And I had only just begun. The interview with CNBC was only the start. My phone exploded with messages by midnight, including distant relatives saying they always believed in me, old classmates suddenly recalling our close friendship, and, most telling of all, a string of increasingly desperate texts from my family. Mom, please give us a call, Vivian. We must speak. Claire. Oh my God. Ally. How come you didn't tell me? Your sister is me. Lucas. Concerning that pitch. Maybe we could talk about it during lunch? Dad. I don't get it. You were so successful, however you didn't tell your own family? I choose to disregard them all and concentrate on Daniel's message instead. Following the Forbes article, stocks rose 12%. Tokyo's markets are starting off well. All set for the board meeting tomorrow. I entered Neurox's headquarters, a modern glass skyscraper in the center of downtown, early the following morning. The cornerstone had my name inconspicuously engraved on it. The security officer gave a polite nod. Greetings, Miss Bennett. I was greeted in the elevator by Leah, my executive assistant. Since 6 a.m, your family has been phoning the workplace. Security followed protocol despite your mother's attempts to charm her way past reception. I grinned. Naturally they did. Are there any additional surprises? Claire, your sister, tagged you in a LinkedIn post on her brilliant tech entrepreneur sister. PR is curious about how to respond to it. No answer is required, I stated. Allow her to pursue the connection. The top story housed my office, which I had constructed to be unnoticeable from the street thanks to privacy glass and sparse signs. The interior was minimalist yet contemporary, with simple lines, useful furnishings, and whiteboards brimming with intricate algorithms and code. Several displays silently displayed the morning news. Tech icon Vivian Carter appends the AI industry. The silent giant transforming machine learning, New Rock Solutions. A young CEO secretly built a billion-dollar empire. I was scanning the news when there was a knock on my door. "This is your 9 a.m., Miss Bennett." Is present. Anticipating my planned venture capital meeting, I turned. Rather, my ex-fiancé Ethan was standing there. The investment banker. My parents never forgiven me for leaving the man. He tried his old endearing smile and continued, "Vivian, you look prosperous." I look just like I did when you described my startup as cute and admirable. I remained seated. "How did you end up on my schedule?" His body shifted uneasily. "It's possible that your mother said that you had offices here." Given our history, I interrupted, "You should keep in mind that I don't like people who don't think highly of me." "Darling," you remarked, and I quote, "tech is a man's world. I never remain in consulting where diversity hires are valued." I hit the intercom button. "Leah, please update security procedures and escort Mr. Harrison out." As he was being escorted off, my real 9 a.m. Natalie Cho, the infamous venture capitalist who has backed unicorn firms, arrived. "A fun morning?" She nodded at Ethan's retrenchment as she asked. I brought up our presentation and said, "Just clearing out old misconceptions. Should we talk about the future rather than the past?" Natalie's meeting went really well. It was only a warm-up, though. I held my first board meeting since the Forbes piece came out at lunchtime. When I walked in, the boardroom was packed. When I went in, our investors, who were primarily elderly men who had previously questioned me, sat up straighter. It's interesting how a few $1 billion can alter people's behavior. I sat at the head of the table and said, "Let's address the elephant in the room before we begin." The Forbes piece was indeed strategic. Indeed, the timing was intentional. Furthermore, nothing about the way we work is altered by this. My CFO, Daniel, retrieved our quarterly figures. The growth charts were steep, dramatic, and indisputable, resembling mountain ranges. "As you can see," I went on, "we made the right choice in operating in stealth mode while developing our technical basis. Not only are we ahead of the competition, the market is us." A man who had previously advised me to choose a CEO with more experience, one of our first investors, cleared his throat. "The publicity makes a difference, even though the numbers are impressive. My family has no bearing on how this business operates." I brought up a second slide. Project Nexus, our next step, is pertinent. There was silence in the room. The technology one described would make our current achievements seem like a warm-up for our future AI architecture. Leah gave me a message halfway through my presentation. "The lobby is where your sister is. Claims she won't go until you speak with her." I sent a brief message to security but continued presenting. Claire was led to our smallest conference room, the one with the terrible chairs, 5 minutes later. I took my time going over contracts after the board meeting before going down to meet her. She had waited for 2 hours. Her flawless blowout faltered a little. She held her Prada purse like a shield. "Really, ally?" As I walked in, she exploded. "Why couldn't security inform them of my identity? Your own sister." I sat down opposite her and said, "They know exactly who you are. They adhered to protocol because of this." She became a little deflated. "As you may imagine, Mom is crying. Dad isn't at work yet. They perceive a betrayal trait." I lifted one eyebrow. "By what means? My accomplishment? My self-reliance? Or the inability to claim credit for it?" "That isn't the case. We are related. We ought to have participated in this." Claire remarked, "You made me a part of your life. You and Lucas discussed your accomplishments at all those family dinners. Mom used to introduce you as my successful daughter at charity galas, and I would say, 'Vivian, she's finding herself.'" Claire winced. "That is unfair. Since you never asked, we were unaware. You didn't really see what I was building because you were too preoccupied with feeling superior." I pointed to the modern meeting room. "And you want to start afresh now that you know?" She gave a nod. "Yes, Lucas would be thrilled to work with you." "Lucas?" I took out my tablet and looked over his history of pitches. 3 startups failed. Due to suspicious trading behavior, the SEC issued 2 warnings, as well as a trust money that is running out quicker than his justifications. Lucas. Her face went white. How did you? I am fully aware of every individual who attempts to conduct business with my organization. Among other things, he has been disparaging me to possible investors for the past 2 years. I gave the screen a tap. I think he called it amateur hour. Claire's high-end purse fell out of her grasp. He wouldn't, it's very evident from the recordings. I got up. Now, pardon me, I have a business to manage. Hold on, she took hold of my arm. What are you looking for? An expression of regret? All right. I apologize. We all apologize. Just don't push us away. I glanced down at her immaculately manicured hand lying on the sleeve of my blazer, the same one she had made fun of the previous evening. Claire, I don't need anything from you. The point is that, without your help, without our parents' approval, and without anyone's encouragement, I created everything. And I'll keep doing it exactly like that. However, how about family? Relatives? I grinned pitifully. Even without the billions, my family would have had faith in me. Instead of discounting my dreams, my family would have inquired about them. My family would have accepted me for who I am rather than what they want. She let go of her hand. And now? I looked at my phone when a new alert appeared. I'm meeting with the governor right now to discuss turning our city into the next big tech hub. I stopped in the hallway. Feel free to tell your parents. They will undoubtedly get rather interested in my situation. Leah stepped next to me as I left Claire in that tiny, sterile conference room. She checked her tablet and remarked, "Your parents are having another family meeting tonight. Your aunt has already attempted to claim that she mentored you by calling 3 reporters." I grinned. Allow them to meet. Let them speak. The best retaliation is success but silence. I gave Leah a quick look. The best response is silence. Natalie Cho and a group of foreign businessmen were waiting as the elevator doors opened. Are you prepared to make a difference? She inquired. Knowing that my cheap blazer will be highlighted as tech's new power look in tomorrow's business pages, I straightened it. Always, I answered. The greatest inventions, after all, originate from those that everyone else ignores. The sound of Claire's pricey heels clicking toward the door behind me echoed like all of their years of condemnation and rejection. However, I was no longer that underappreciated younger sister. The future was me. Like success, the future belongs to those who create it for themselves. A month after everything changed because of the Forbes piece, I was sitting in my office reading the most recent market reports. The shares of Neurotech has doubled. Leaders in the industry were referring to our AI technology as revolutionary. And the ongoing attention from the public has taken the place of my meticulously preserved privacy. Leah emerged from the door. Your dad is down the stairs. I kept my eyes glued to my screen. The same response as it was yesterday. Today he is different. Not a Mercedes. No power suit. He's dressed in jeans. I paused at that. Does Bennett Global Consulting CEO Thomas Carter wear jeans in public? Leah went on to say he has been waiting in the lobby for 2 hours. Just sitting there, seeing others at work. I opened the security feed for the lobby. He was there. My dad. In casual attire, you somehow look smaller. Holding a briefcase made of weathered leather that I had never seen before. Send him up. I looked at the framed newspaper headlines on my wall while I waited. Neurotech reports quantum AI advancement. Tech's newest billion-dollar CEO turns down family's claims. Vivian Carter, permission is not necessary for success. The final one was taken during the interview when I at last talked about the family predicament in public. The reporter had inquired as to why I had concealed my accomplishment. My reply went viral. Permission, validation, or familial approval are not necessary for success. All you need is perseverance and vision. Dad came in gently, quite different from his typical imposing demeanor. He surveyed the workplace, the algorithm-covered whiteboards, the tickers of the world markets, the expansive perspective of the metropolis he had previously controlled. Finally, he continued, your mother always makes a seat for you at dinner. Every Thursday evening. Just in case. I pointed to the chair on the other side of my desk. He put the ancient briefcase in his lap and sat. He went on, I've been considering your 5th grade science fair. I didn't anticipate this out of all the things he could have said. You constructed a crude neural network. Utilized it to forecast weather trends. Everybody else had plants growing toward light or volcanoes made of baking soda. However, you had algorithms. He gave a small smile. I missed first place, but you did. I had a meeting with the board. He hesitated. I recall, I replied. Do you know what I can't recall? You never inquired as to how it operated. Is the reason AI piqued my interest? Or what I envisioned creating? He took out a stack of papers from the suitcase. So I looked into it. He laid them out on my desk. Patents, scholarly articles, preliminary business plans. My work, which goes back many years. He whispered, you filed your first patent at 19. At the age of 22, you developed your first AI protocol. Started 3 profitable businesses under various names prior to New Rock. He raised his head. While we believed you were simply discovering who I am, I added. His words were catchy as he remarked, being difficult. He looked directly into my eyes. We were mistaken. I was mistaken. Years of lost relationships and unsaid realities weighed heavily on the long pause between us. At last he asked, did you know that your mother has been taking coding classes? Simple things. She claims, however, that she wants to know what you've created. Dad remarked, Em has been reading about AI ethics. I cut him off, saying even Lucas has been trying to pitch to my competitors using his connection to me as leverage. Dad's expression darkened. I was unaware of that. You were unaware of a lot of things. Didn't inquire. Did not wish to observe. Slowly he nodded. Your mom would like to have a family meal. To commemorate your accomplishment. Like the most recent family meal? I inquired. Did you all come together to step in and help me? No. One last time he delved into the battered leather briefcase and took out a faded photograph. Gently, he gave it to me. I was proudly standing next to my neural network display, and I was in 5th grade. Tiny. I mean it. I was positive of the direction I wanted to take. When did we no longer see you? Quietly, he inquired. When did we start using judgment instead of pride? As I gazed at the picture, I recalled the excitement of making something unique, the buzz of fluorescent lights in the gym, and the smell of glue and science kits. The happiness. The letdown when nobody showed up. I mentioned that the study had a 76% accuracy rate in forecasting weather patterns. He gave a small smile. Very remarkable for a 5th grader. Are you curious about New Rock's accuracy rate right now? For the first time, he gazed up with true curiosity. What is it? 99.97%. I swiveled my monitor to show him the results of our most recent test. I remarked, we're not just forecasting the weather anymore. We're simulating population movements, market patterns, and climatic change. We are assisting countries in disaster preparedness before they occur. Assisting companies in preparing for change before it occurs. Dad, we're saving lives. I saw it for the first time, genuine comprehension in his eyes. Not only about the fame, the money, or the success, but also about the impact. The goal. Show me, he uttered quietly. Assist me in understanding. I paused. After that, I got up and moved toward the biggest whiteboard. I picked up a marker and stated it starts with a basic neural pathway. However, we then included quantum processing. And I started. I spent the next hour telling my father about my life's work. He paid attention. He posed good questions. The type that demonstrated he had actually done his homework. The type that indicated he was at last paying attention. He sat silently for a long time after I was done. I've got another confession, he finally said. Bennett Global is having difficulties. The outdated consultancy model is no longer effective. Businesses want to integrate AI. Predictive analytics. I understand, I replied. Last quarter, your stock dropped 40%. He let out a loud, weary laugh. You know, of course. Most likely you were aware before I was. He stood up straight in his seat. I'm not here to seek assistance. Or cash. Or relationships. I am come to express my pride in you. Not as a result of your accomplishment. But because, while we were all too blind to notice it, you had the guts to create something revolutionary. Looking out over the city I had once dreamed of conquering, I made my way to the window. I was standing above it now, observing how the sun caught the outlines of towers with names that I would soon surpass. I had built everything in secrecy. Without cheering. Without authorization. But nevertheless, in spite of everything, I managed to construct it. What if we had our next family dinner here? I replied gently. He gave me a startled expression. This is it. Within my structure. I'll start by giving them a tour. Show them what I do for a living. No more suppositions. No more condemnations. Simply put, reality. He gave a contemplative nod. That is what they would like. I'd like that, you say more gently. Just one requirement. I looked him in the face. Everyone arrives based on their own qualities. Not a single plus one. Lucas is not allowed. He gave a nod. Comprehensive. In any case, Claire is figuring it out. They lost a lot of money on his most recent investment plan. I understand, I replied. Last week, I acquired their debt. Via a subsidiary. He raised his eyebrows. You did? Why? The reason is that Claire is still my sister. It is her responsibility to tidy up her own mess. However, I will not allow her to drown. I took a seat again. Families are complex. That is not resolved by success. It just empowers you to establish more effective boundaries. Dad got up and picked up his briefcase. 7 p.m. on Thursday? Thursday at 7, I said. Tell Mom to put on cozy shoes. The building is large. He stopped at the door. The article's comment about success not requiring permission? He gave a slight smile. For my office, I'm framing it. To serve as a reminder of the qualities of true leadership. Leah handed in a new cup of coffee and my afternoon agenda after he left. She remarked, your mother has already called 3 times regarding Thursday. And Claire sent flowers. I said, give the flowers away. And Leah, please clear my schedule for Thursday night. She gave a nod. Are you prepared for them? I gave her a look. Now is the time to show my family what I have truly accomplished. As usual, I worked late that evening and added another framed piece to my wall. Tech CEO rethinks family business. The best teacher is success. I also hung the old science fair picture of the young, ambitious girl standing next to her neural network, modest and solemn, not realizing she would one day transform the tech industry underneath it. Establishing an empire isn't always the most difficult aspect of success. It's helping people recognize you for who you truly are, not for who they thought you would be. And I grinned as I gazed over the city, its lights flickering in towers that were already powered by the precise technology one had imagined. It would be intriguing on Thursday. However, I wouldn't be the one demonstrating anything this time. I had done it already. It was now their turn. Perhaps the true form of retaliation is to live so freely and completely that their comments no longer define you, rather than to yell at others or prove them wrong. Success in silence can sometimes speak louder than any argument ever could. Put your attention on getting better if you're carrying hurt or betrayal. Establish limits. Expand. And gracefully let go. To leave on a high note, you don't have to destroy relationships. Have you ever experienced betrayal or undervaluation from people closest to you? Post your tale in the comments section. This is a place for honesty, fortitude, and progress. Tell me then, when they questioned you, what decision did you make?